All God's people said, Amen.
Amen. Good morning. I don't know, that's kind of just like habit. Like I already said that twice probably already, huh? So as I said, mentioning communion, we're starting a series called Get Closer. But before I get that, here, something's happening this Tuesday. Have you heard anything about it? See any commercials? Got any mailers? How's your Facebook feed doing? Twitter feed? Anything going on this Tuesday? And honestly, I've been trying to forget about it. I don't know that my soul, the depths of my soul, can handle any more negativity towards one another anymore. The fact that we act this way towards one another is getting kind of beyond me. But I can't wait until Wednesday. There's that sermon, Friday's here, but Sunday's coming. Have you heard that before, dealing with the death and the resurrection? I sort of feel the same way. Tuesday's here, but Wednesday's coming. Wednesday when our commercials will go back to the normal junk that we don't need anyway. Our mailboxes will be maybe the same again. I won't have to fill my own recycling bin and my neighbor's recycling bin with the excess of mailers that have been coming to me. But more importantly, how many of you are on the Facebook or the Twitter? Yeah? Oh, not really. There's 1 billion users, but just like 10 in this. Okay, good. Good. But I'm sure for those of you out, you're excited for Wednesday. Maybe your news feeds will go back to the important things of life because I no longer truly know what my friend had for dinner. And I really don't know what's been happening to his cat Fluffy's life anymore. But probably the most important thing, I have lost and I no longer know what my true inner Disney princess is without taking all of the Facebook quizzes to tell me who I am. So Wednesday will hopefully be a regaining of normalness, and it actually probably won't, but I'm excited for it anyway. So today, but I know the election's on our mind, and it's a big thing that's happening, and so this morning my goal is to take your thoughts completely off of it. I want to take our hearts and our minds, and definitely our souls, to somewhere completely different. To some place of perfection, to a place of beauty, to a place of order, to a place where all things were defined as good and even very good by God. I want to go to Genesis 1:1 in creation and see that moment where Christ, where God created all things and truly came close to us as He ordained everything as He intended to be. So open up your Bibles to Genesis 1:1. It's super easy to find. You just kind of flip over the first page, and it should be right there. Now, you'll notice I put a challenge out to the second service. You got a lot of room in your notes, and I'm going to be kind of flying through the days of creation. And so I'm allowing today all of you who are of the right brain leaning, those of you who like to be artistic, today is a doodle welcome morning. In fact, if you would like to doodle all of creation on your worship folder, you are more than welcome to do that. In fact, there's a contest that's happening. And if you can see, this is so far the winner of the contest. So you've got, see, there's the other side too. See, there's a beautiful sun and wonderful things, and then all of the, and man, it's beautiful. So you right brain creative types, this is your day. This is your Sunday. You get the freedom, Karis. You have the freedom. Mama will tell you to fill in the blanks. You don't have to this morning. You can just draw. See, I own some of those. I am one of those. So there's freedom. So there is a winner. There will be a prize for the winner. Right now, that one, his name is Chris from Second Service. He is winning at the moment, but the contest is still open. There will be a prize. We did have 2,400 pounds of candy given to us last week. So Genesis 1:1. So we start at the beginning. And the most important verse, right, comes right at the beginning. It says, in the beginning, God. In the beginning, God. This book's about God. He opens up and says, here I am. I want to introduce myself to you. I am God. I am before all things. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Most important sentence. There's a beginning God who was pre-existent, who was uncreated, who was and is to come. He created all things. Everything that is because at the beginning, God. At the beginning, he created all things. The story is about him. The God who has the power to create out of nothing something. We're going to be introduced to him and told what he did for us and how he made all things and how he ordered all things to be for us. So now let's take a look at verse 2. It says, now the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. So if you have this picture in your mind and you're trying to think how to draw it, we just have this mass of liquid, which it says is formless and empty. And the Spirit of God is hovering around this. And the formless and empty, these words in Hebrew, they're my two favorite Hebrew words. I'm going to teach them to you because you can, so you can impress your friends and neighbors and your coworkers tomorrow and say, I know 2 words in Hebrew. Tohu, bohu. Fantastic. Just fun to say. Tohu vabohu. The earth was formless and empty. So this word tohu, it was empty, without form. It was out for, there was no purpose or order. That's kind of what this word means. It was just this mass. There was no purpose to it. There was no order to it. And then bohu, it was empty or void. Or I like to think at it, there was no beauty. It wasn't filled with anything. It was just this mass. And so God takes this formlessness and this emptiness, and just as he continues to do in our lives today, because his nature remains the same, he shows us from the very beginning how he alone is the one who can bring purpose into the chaos. That he alone can fill the emptiness with beauty. And God alone does this in our hearts, in our lives, and he alone did it at the beginning of all things as he brought order and beauty to all of creation. And he does this on the very first day by starting off like this in verse 3. And God said, let there be light. And to this formless void, he said, let there be light. And there was. He just spoke it into being. He said, let there be light, and there was light. And he saw that the light was good. And then he separated the light from the darkness, and he created order. He called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening, and there was morning the first day. So right on the first day, he brings order to the chaos, to the tohu. He defines a place and a time for the darkness and the light, and he brings it a purpose. Then in verse 6, we go to the second day. God said, let there be a vault between the waters that separate water from water. So God makes this vault and separates from the waters under the vault, this liquid under the vault. He separates it and puts waters above, and he calls this vault the sky. And we know that the sky and the atmosphere and everything we have is a thing that brings us life. So he creates this order and this purple, man, this is a hard word to say. Purposefulness, is that even a word? You know where I'm going, though. He brought it purpose. There we go. And he separated these waters. He created the sky, and he said there was morning and there was evening the second day, and it was good. Again, order and purpose. Then on the third day, verse 9, he said, now let the water under the sky that was there, let it be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear. And it was so. And God called the dry ground land, and he gathered waters and called them seas. And again, God saw that it was good. Now, in day 1, he separates light from dark. In day 2, he separates the waters from below, the waters above. And here he separates none the waters that are below, and he brings out this dry land. But he doesn't stop there on day 3. He creates something else, something very important on day 3, very important to support life. And on verse 11, it says, and God said this, he said, let the land that's just now come forth from the water, so let it produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds. And it was so. And so the land produced vegetation, plants bearing seeds according to their kinds, and these trees bearing fruit with seeds in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, the third day. So I'm going to break these apart in kind of days 1, 2, and 3, and then days 4, 5, and 6. And we see in these first 3 days to the tohu, to the chaos. He brings order. He brings a cycle of routine. He gives it purpose. A day and night are established. Time to sleep, time to be awake, time to grow, time to be refreshed. Order to the waters, waters below, waters above. When he separates these waters, allows the land to produce these amazing thing called seed-bearing plants and trees. And why is this so amazing? This is just something that God does miraculously again and again. See, God created plants and trees, these seed-bearing plants and trees, to be able to recreate themselves again and again and again and again, all on their own. God did that. Now, my wife loves to garden. I love to eat from her garden. But what's really cool, she doesn't even like tomatoes. I love tomatoes. So we have tons of tomato plants. She makes a ton of salsa. Everybody loves salsa, right? Nobody doesn't like salsa. If you don't like salsa, you should try my wife's salsa. You'll never not like salsa. It's fantastic. But we have all these tomato plants, and every year we just can't eat all of them. And every year some will drop to the ground. And they'll eventually rot into the dirt and into the soil. And then the next season, the sun will get warm again, and there will be heat, and all of a sudden, this miraculous thing happens, and these seeds and plants just grow out of the ground. I did nothing. I bought nothing. I planted nothing. I spent no resources or time into these little plants, and all of a sudden, they just grow up, and they give me more delicious salsa. I don't even know how it happens. I think God just makes a salsa too. It's just there. No. But God does this. He created everything just to recreate themselves, this system of provision for plants just to regrow and recreate this glorious food for us. He created this land that enabled things to grow. He created a system of separated waters where these waters from below could evaporate and go into the waters above, and wind would blow it to the land, and the clouds would rain down onto the land, and this light that he separated from the darkness would shine on it, and it would just grow. He provided all of that just to happen. In his creation, he provided everything we need. And if you really think about it, we are clothed by seed-bearing plants. We are housed by seed-bearing plants. We are fed by seed-bearing plants. But God enabled just to recreate and recreate and recreate and recreate. So in these first 3 days, he brings form, order, purpose. And then to the formless void, he made everything for us to live and survive, and the chaos has order. And now in the next 4, 5, and 6, the next 3 days, he's going to fill this emptiness that now has order. He's going to fill it with beauty so that we could behold his majesty, that we could return, worship him for who he is and what he looks like and what he's done. So look at day 4. Light and dark are separated, and they're filled with beauty. Verse 14, and God said, let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day and the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years. And let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light to the earth. And it was so. And he made 2 great lights, the greater light to govern the day, the lesser to govern the night. He made stars. He set them in the vaults of the sky to give light to the earth, to govern the day and the night, to separate light from darkness. And he saw that it was good. It was morning and evening, the 4th day. So he just filled it with his beauty, and we get to see the stars and the galaxies and in turn worship him. Then day 5, the waters above and the waters below are filled with life and with beauty. Verse 20, God said, let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across this vault of the sky that I separated. So God created the great creatures of the sea and every living thing with which water teems and that moves about in it according to their kinds, every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And he blesses them, and he says, be fruitful, increase in number, fill the waters of the sea, let the birds increase on the earth. And there was evening and there was morning, the 5th day. And then we get to the 6th day. And the land that had come forth from the waters on the earth were gathered and now are filled. God said, let the land produce, this land that came up, produce living creatures according to their kind, livestock, the creatures that move around the ground, wild animals, each according to its kind, and it was so. And he made all the wild animals according to their kinds, livestock according to their kinds, and creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw again that it was good. It was good, it was good, it was good, it was good. And now continuing on day 6, the crowning jewel of all creation. There's different wording that happens to the next thing that he creates. Every time he just speaks it to be and it comes, but now he says something specific before he enters into his next part of his creation. God said, this is verse 26, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds of the sky, over the livestock, over the wild animals, over all the creatures that move along the ground. And he said, let's make them in our image. I'm going to set them above all the order of creation. We're going to make them to reflect the glory of God. And he places man on the ground. In verse 27, he created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. See, there's this beautiful, wonderful picture that's happening here in Genesis. This huge creator God who can make something out of nothing, who brings order to the chaos, who creates all those cycles that provide life to us, who breathes life into this land and puts beauty and order and everything, who brings purpose, fills everything. When all of it is done, when everything is there and ordained and provided all things for life, he creates us in his image and says, here, it's yours. And in the end of these 6 days, he doesn't just say that it was good, but he says that it was very good. We are created in our image, given everything that he provided in this garden. We have food and water that simply replenished itself over and over again. No grocery shopping, no food preparation, no dishes to clean, just food, glorious food that tasted, I'm sure, just perfection. I'm sure every food that I don't like, I would have liked. I would have grabbed a mango and it would have been wonderful. Because I don't like mangoes right now. Something happened in the fall to mangoes. Just kidding. That was for free. But everything was perfect. Everything was provided for. There was no worry, no work. Every once in a while, we don't go out to eat a lot because it puts a strain on the budget. But every once in a while, I just look at Jen and I say, we are going out to eat because I don't want to make anything and I don't want to clean anything. And I don't want to have you make anything, and I don't want to have you clean anything. So we're going out to eat, and somebody else is making something for us, and somebody else is cleaning for us. Amen, right? But God just does that for Adam and Eve. He provides everything, no worry, no work. You just pick off fruit, and it's going to replenish itself. It's just there. Everything in perfection. Can you let that image soak in? No worry, no concern, no where is my next meal coming from? No when am I going to find time to go to the grocery store? When am I going to find time between soccer practice and Awana and this and that and everything else to make dinner? When am I going to find the time to do these things? There's no worry. You just had everything provided for you by a God who loves you very much. Just grasp that in your head. In verse 28, he just blesses them. He says, be fruitful, increase in number, fill the earth, rule over the fish in the seas. Every seed-bearing plant, it's yours for food. And he says, to all the animals, it's yours. Everything that I have given breath of life into it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. And this is where the very good comes in, verse 31. Everything else has been good. But verse 31, after day 6, after he's created us, after he's given us everything that we've needed, he's placed us here in the midst of his beautiful painting and his beautiful order that he ordained. He looks at everything and he says it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the 6th day. So do you have this picture in your mind? I hope you do. I hope you're longing for it. God who created us in his image, And in that creation, he gives us everything that we need. But more than that, he gives us the ability and the facilities to actually enjoy it and to behold it. He gives us these wonderful things called these five senses, that we could see his fullness, that we could see his glory, and in turn, worship him. He gives us sight to see all of his wonderful creation, and we can see more than black and white. We can see more than grayscale. We can see in full color, to see the changing leaves in fall, to see the different colors of the flowers in spring. We get to hear the sounds of the crashing waterfalls, of the babbling brooks, and I'm a water guy. I love crashing waves, any water sound. I just love it, and God gave us the ability to hear that, to touch, to feel the softness of fur. I love dog's ears. Anybody have just soft, fluffy dog ears? Like sometimes I wonder, why didn't God give me soft ears like a dog? But then I remember, because if he did, I would just be like this all day long, and you would think I was really weird. But he enables us to feel that, to have the joy of feeling that, or the soft silkiness of a flower petal, to smell the fresh rain and all the flowers, and to taste. I mean, how thankful are we that we can taste? I remember going to Africa, and we were driving alongside the road in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden there was this man with a large machete and an even larger pineapple, and he just went whack. This pineapple came in half, and there's juice just dripping down his arm. And he takes another whack at it and cuts off a slice, and all of a sudden his juice-filled arm is being thrusted through my window. And he gives it to me, and I take it, and all of a sudden the juice is running in my arm. And I take a bite of this pineapple, and I go, oh, Creator God, you are so good. This is so delicious, and I can taste it, and it's sweet, and it's juicy, and it's beautiful, and it's probably going to make me sick because I have no idea where that machete's been. But this is awesome. You know, somebody in second service actually spent time researching, would pineapple like acid juice clean a machete? I did not get sick, so God was gracious to me. But it's just this wonderful, beautiful thing that God gives us these five senses to behold his creation, to just be filled with this joy and wonder of everything that he provided and cared for us. I remember when I was a college student, I worked at a summer camp as a lifeguard and worship leader. And during the weekends, in between camps, it was in the Oregon coast. We would go out to the Pacific Ocean, Lincoln City. We'd go to the beach, and we'd spend the afternoon on the beach because we just loved being there. And there was another group of college kids that were coming, and they captured our attention because they were surrounding this one guy who had a blindfold on. And he was being led down onto the beach there in Lincoln City. And I was just thinking and watching him that he was probably tasting the saltiness of the ocean on his lips, smelling the fresh air that only the ocean breeze can bring, feeling the sand between his toes, and eventually the cool chill of the Pacific Ocean, hearing the waves crashing to the shore. And then his friends, when he was knee-deep in the Pacific Ocean, in the middle of the ocean, the water surrounding him, they took off his blindfold, and he opened his eyes and saw the vastness of the ocean, and he just screamed for joy. So this is amazing. And his hands were flailing all over the place. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. I had never seen such joy on someone's face as when he saw the vastness of the ocean crashing around him. So I sought this guy out. I had to talk to him. I had to know what was going on. What was this all about? And he told me, he said, I grew up in the Midwest. I've never seen the ocean. Only heard about it. Only seen pictures of it. And so I wanted my first time just to be this immersion experience. And so my friends were gracious enough just to bring me the ocean and just open it up. And he said I just couldn't contain myself. It was just this overwhelming joy to see this vastness of God's creation. I'm like, wow, that'd be just, what an awesome experience to have. And then I was thinking about Adam and Eve. being there in the beauty and the perfection of creation, God placing them in the garden with everything around them, and everything was that new, joyful experience. Did you see that? Did you taste that? Did you feel that? Did you smell that? Try this, try this. Everything's this first awesome wonder because God provides everything in perfection for them. Again and again, to see a flower bloom, to see a river run, to see a gazelle leap, to see everything for the first time. How majestic would that be? I remember maybe the closest I ever got to that. I remember the first time that I saw a redwood, because I grew up in Washington. We didn't have the big, huge redwoods like they do in California here. And I remember standing next to a redwood and going, and I don't mean this in a negative way, it was just a truly worshipful way. It was just, my God, how big are you? I feel so small. You are so big. That awe and wonder was just held in perfection every moment, all the time for them in the garden. When we turn to chapter 2, thus the heavens and the earth were completed in their vast array. And by the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing, so on the seventh day he rested from his work. And so God blessed the seventh day, and he made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating all that he had done. So God gives us this wonderful gift right here. It's just a beautiful thing. He created the Sunday afternoon nap, and he ordained it as holy. You're welcome. You're welcome. This is an amazing thing. God knew he needed to define rest for us, that we were going to need rest, that we were going to need rejuvenation. I mean, there's some nights where I'm like, I can't wait to go to sleep, just to refresh, just to start over, and God gives us a piece of that too. Let's skip forward to verse 15. We have a deeper look, kind of a more intimate look into the sixth day when he created a man. So we have this picture of God providing for all of our physical needs and perfection, this joy that would be filling our hearts. And we see here, verse 15, God took man personally, put him in the garden, said, here, it's yours, take care of it. And the Lord commanded the man, said, you're free to eat from any tree of the garden, but don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat it, you will certainly die. Now, Pastor Scott's going to get into that next week. But what I want to see here is just a picture of this relationship. So in verse 18, again, this God who is in this personal relationship, who's there with Adam in the garden, he says, it's not good for man to be alone. I need to make a helper suitable for him. So then it goes in verse 19 to talk about how God formed all of these animals, and he does this really interesting thing. He brings all of the animals before Adam. He says, I want you to name them. I want you to give them a name, and whatever name you give them, that shall be their name. And they come across in front of him, and I've heard this said before, and I think it's kind of a brilliant thing, that as Adam's watching this, he sees a pair for every creature. Well, there's a male deer, there's a female deer, there's a doe, a deer, a female deer. I couldn't resist. I haven't done that, and you guys got that for free. For every animal, there was a pair, and Adam's realizing, I don't have a pair. There's not a match like me who's similar but different. And he's seeing this, and then God does the best thing ever in verse 21. I want you to capture this. He does the best thing ever. He creates woman. Best thing he did, besides food. Best thing he did. So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and while he's sleeping, he took the man's ribs, and the Lord God made woman, and he took him out of man. In verse 23, the man said, this is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She should be called woman, for she was taken out of man. And that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. So what I really want to capture about this picture here, again, you have this big, huge creator God who provided everything for us. But he doesn't just leave us to fend ourselves on our own, though he could have, because everything was here to provide for us. But he created us for a relationship, and he stays in relationship with Adam and Eve. He stays in this perfect relationship with them. He talks with them. He walks them. He provides all their needs. You see, so that man is no good on his own, which is absolute truth. My wife tells me all the time, it's not good for Joel to be alone. I understand it. And so he gave me her, and it's perfect. That's why verse 21 is the best thing that God did ever. But there's this relationship that they have that's an absolute perfection. There's no shame. So just imagine what life is like for us in the beginning. No shame, no needs. Everything physically and everything emotionally was there in perfection. There was nothing that you needed. As God came close to us, to know us, to be with us, he just absolutely took everything in control. There was no phones to capture our attention away, no email, no TV, no meetings, no work, nothing. Our attention could be completely on God and others. I love to tell a story about Karis. I was telling her the other day to remind her, but she was less than 2 years old, and she was probably an only kid at the time. And Jen, my wife, needed to get some things done, and she said, I really need you to come home and be here with Karis because I have to go take care of something. I'm like, okay, well, I'm working on some things, but no problem. I'll just bring my computer home, and I'll set it up and do some things work, and I'll keep an eye on Karis. So I come home, and Karis is like just over exuberant. She is so excited to see her dad. She's here. I'm here at a time that I'm not usually here, and she's like, Dad is here to play with. He's here to be with me. I can't believe it. And she's just squealing. She's so happy. She's so excited. And she's looking at my face, and I can see this joy in her face. And then her eyes slowly go down my body, and she sees this thing in my hand. And she sees the computer, and all of a sudden her face just goes from pure joy to... She points one finger at me, and she says, put pewter down. See, she knew that she wanted to be in relationship with her father. And if her father brought out a computer, there was going to be this 16-inch box that was going to be in between her and a perfect relationship and a perfect afternoon running and playing and being tackled and tickled by her dad. So she wanted that computer out of here because she wanted to be in a relationship with her father. That's what we're longing for. She knew that what she wanted was this relationship. And you know, we do it all the time to ourselves too. I go to countless restaurants, and I am guilty of it. I am pointing this next finger, and I am totally judging. I know people say don't judge. I'm going to judge right now, 100%. But I'm judging myself as well, so it's all fair. But I will go to a restaurant, and I will see whether it's 2 people, a husband and wife, or I'll see a group of 10 people, and whether it's 2 people, there are 2 phones. Where there are 10 people, there are 10 phones. And there is not just one conversation going on or a group of conversation. There are multiple conversations going on from across the globe in one place at one time. And who in their right mind would allow that many people to come around your table and just start talking to you when you're with this group of other people? And yet it happens all the time. And the problem is we're looking for relationship, but unfortunately in this fallen world, relationships are falling, and we have to now work at relationships. In the perfectedness of creation, they didn't have to work on relationships. Relationships were perfect. Now we have to work at them. And we're such a fickle society and a fickle people that when this relationship isn't doing it for us, we'll go to this relationship. And when this relationship isn't good, we'll go to this relationship. And when this relationship isn't good, we'll check our Facebook feed to see if there's anyone better to have a relationship with. And if that's not working out, we'll check the score to the football game. And when the football's no good, we'll go to basketball. And basketball's no good, we'll go to hockey. Because we're always searching for something to bring us meaning to life. But in the beginning of all things, God just brought meaning. There was just 100% meaning in our relationships. And today we need to work at it. We need to draw close to Christ and to push these other distractions out of our way and be in these intimate personal relationships. But so capture this in your mind. At the beginning of all things, there was just this perfect, intimate relationship where all of your emotional, physical needs were met in perfectness. That's the way God intended for us to be. It's what he designed us for. And it's what he's so longing to recapture with us and for us. Now I want to bring it back home. Unfortunately, we're going to go away from this beauty and we're going to come back here, but I want to just fill you in on a little secret that I know about the election. Do you want to hear my secret? Okay, you got to lean in. Get close. Everybody get close. It's a secret. God got your attention? Thank you. Thank you. Again, like 500 million people here and 5 actually leaned. But thank you, Joneses. Here's the truth, and here's the secret that I know. Tuesday morning, when the election is over, or Tuesday evening when the election is over, or Wednesday morning when you see the results of the election, no matter how things go, no matter what happens, no matter who wins, no matter what measures or propositions are passed, I know this truth. God will still be on his throne. God will still be on his throne. And more importantly than that, the God who has the power to create all things, who cares about us so much to provide for everything physically and emotionally for us, he is on the throne. And he still cares for us. And he still brings purpose out of the chaos. He still fills the emptiness with beauty. And it doesn't matter what happens on Tuesday. And for the love of God, if we can't start being nicer to each other, we're doomed. We just are. And I think God is bringing us to a point more than ever and calling the church to stop relying on political powers and parties and systems and realize that the ultimate power is found in God and God alone, the God who created all things and who put his power, the power of the resurrection, into his church. God never said, my power is in this political party. God never said, my power is in this political system. God never said, my power is in the United States of America. He only said one thing, the power of the resurrection, the power of God, the power of creation, the power of everything I did, it's in one place. I ordained one thing, and it's the church, and the church is global. That's what God did. And so we need not worry about Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or Saturday, because God is in absolute control. And if we get to a place where we are persecuted, just like we watched that video during the announcements, then God, may our prayer be too, that nothing would we desire other than just be faithful to Jesus Christ and to say yes to him. So I want to give you this encouragement in Colossians. Thank you for helping me move forward. I could just get on my rant for a while. But Colossians chapter 1, I want you to have this just in your heart and your soul as you move in this week. The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. He is the head of the body. He is the head of the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. Amen? Our God is still on the throne. And we have a responsibility to vote yes, but more importantly, we have a responsibility to draw close to him, to have his heart to love others, to have his heart to love God, to have his heart to take care of others, to have his heart to be nice, to have his heart to find peace, to have his heart to find joy, to have his heart to see the amazingness of creation again and again that he just provides. And flowers just bloom. And it's like God says, do it again, do it again, do it again, because I want to continue to show my beauty to all people so they can behold me and worship the Lord their God. In a minute, we're going to take our offering. And we're going to do something a little bit different. We're not going to have the orchestra and the group come back out. We're actually going to have a little bit of a different way to focus our heart and our attention in worship to God. I really want to end the service with us being able to see this vastness of what God has done and what he's created and the beauty that he is. Because again, creation is a reflection of the Creator. When we see creation, we don't look to the physical world, we look to the God who created all things, and we worship Him. So I found this great video of just these amazing pictures of earth with this great song. And as we give as a part of our worship, I also want to sit and to contemplate and to think about everything that our God enables us to see and to behold in His creation. And to in turn, let us turn to worship and getting closer to His heart so that we can become more like Him. Let me pray. God, as we give this offering to you, we give it out of our heart to say you've provided so much. We just want to give back to you and see your work be done. But God, we thank you for the work of your creation and what you did and how you provided for us and how you care for us and how you just longed for us. So God, put in our heart this longing to see you, to be like you, to behold your glory and to shine your glory everywhere we go. So God, we give this time of giving and reflection to you. In your name we pray. Amen.